Welcome to Colonial Construction Part A. My name is Brittany Rose and I'm a history major at Penn State University. In Part A, we are going to be looking at the history behind Washington crossing the Delaware River, as well as the boats he used during this process. For Part B, put on by my partner, Alex Frack, he is going to be leading you through an activity where you build a boat out of popsicle sticks. In order to get to Part B of this activity, you need to complete a short quiz, so pay really close attention to Part A. In order to look at the history, we have to go all the way back to December 23rd, 1776, where Washington and his Continental Army just came to Pennsylvania from New Jersey. During this, they were being pursued by the British Army, but they stayed on the New Jersey side of the Delaware River. Washington and his troops were dealing with having very little clothing, no ammunition, as well as having very little food, making it really difficult for him to keep all of his soldiers happy during this experience. With their confidence low after just losing a few battles in New York, Washington began to come up with a plan to increase the confidence of his soldiers. This plan would consist of him taking his army across the Delaware River and attacking those British soldiers that didn't pursue them across the Delaware. This would be extremely risky, but Washington was ready to take the challenge because he needed to make sure that his men had clothing, food, and ammunition. After gathering his troops and gathering enough boats to cross, they set sail across the Delaware River. This first crossing was extremely hard. It was cold, snowing, and raining, and they were soon losing time. Eventually, they would be a few hours late, losing their cover of darkness. But nonetheless, Washington's army continued across the Delaware River. Once getting across the Delaware River, they continued their way to Trenton, which is where the Hessian soldiers were staying for the Christmas holiday. Once they got there, they were able to capture almost all of the Hessian soldiers without losing a single one of Washington's men. Once there, they were able to have food and ammunition, as well as being able to celebrate the Christmas holiday. The next day, they would make their way back across the Delaware River with their captives in hand. This journey would also be extremely tricky, as they had even more men to now transport across. But Washington was prepared for that because of the boats he had chosen to cross the Delaware River. They were Durham boats. Durham boats were used widely throughout the northeastern United States to transport goods. These boats were extremely big. Think of them almost as big canoes. They could hold up to 18 tons. That's like 3 elephants. Within these boats, he was able to put enough men to be able to transport his army across the river. These boats were huge. He also used ferries, which were able to hold a horse and buggy or a carriage to be able to cross the Delaware River, making it even more easy for him to cross. Overall, Washington crossing the Delaware, as well as the Battle of Trenton, really raised everyone's confidence in the Continental Army and really made people think that they were a force to be reckoned with. Overall, the Battle of Trenton, as well as Washington crossing the Delaware, were extremely significant for the American Revolution. It proved that the Continental Army was here to stay, and they would be able to tough through even the Pennsylvania winter and crossing the Delaware. It also raised the morale of almost all of his soldiers, and recruitment for Washington skyrocketed after this. The Continental Congress also believed in Washington even more, and the British military was afraid of him and what he could do. All right, so after hearing all about Washington crossing the Delaware, here's a quick little quiz.
Question 1. What was the name of the hired British soldiers that the Continental Army attacked when they crossed the Delaware River? If you said the Hessians, you were correct. If you remember, Hessians were hired German military soldiers, and about 30,000 of them actually served during the American Revolutionary War for the British. Question 2. What was the other type of boat, other than a Durham boat, used by Washington's troops to cross the Delaware River? The answer is ferry boats. He used these not only to transport men, but to transport horses and cannons as well. Question 3. What was the name of the battle that took place after the Continental Army crossed the Delaware? This was the Battle of Trenton. During this battle, only 2 American lives were lost, and they were not even because of the battle, but due to the cold.
I hope you guys really enjoyed this mini lesson and have even more fun with Alex's part of colonial construction.